everyone, and welcome for watching our next interview. I'm really excited about this one. This is a person I've had an opportunity to get to know over the last many, many years and watch her grow and succeed in her business. Her name is VIja Williams. So tell us a little bit about the real estate story. Maybe, where you have areas of specialty. For example, I know you do luxury, right? As well as regular residential. So why don't we just talk a little bit about how you built your real estate business and what's unique about it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm on my 19th year of selling real estate.
Wow.
And I'm a second generation realtor. So I grew up around it. My dad started a real estate company when I was about 10 years old. So I had a lot of summers spent, as doing reception work when I got into high school and just being exposed to it a lot. I didn't get into it right away. I actually went, when I got out of college, I went and worked in the building industry, in the new build industry. I was a marketing coordinator for builders and developers. So I guess that's in the real estate space, I guess, but I was in the marketing end of that. And then prior to having, or right as I had, I should say, my first child, who is turning 20 next month, I did get into real estate. I got my license and started selling. And, like a lot of probably the people watching this today, I just kind of went out and started selling. I was in my 30s. I was 30 when I started, and all through my 30s, I had 3 kids during that time and sold real estate, did really, really well, worked hard, did well, always had, an assistant. But, I just kind of thought that's what you did. So when the market turned, it wasn't good for us. I just had my 3rd baby, and it's interesting because COVID's happening now. Swine flu. Yeah. Swine flu happened. A lot of you guys don't remember that, but in 2009, when I had Zoe, we kind of had our first mini scare, and she was a preemie, and she was in we call it the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit. You had to put a hazmat outfit to go in there at the time. So, I have Zoe like end of October of 2009. The business is horrible. It was a very tough time. So going into 2010 was an incredibly tough year for me and my family. I had a newborn, it was trying to figure out what to do. So at the end of 2010, I made a move and I came to the current brokerage that I'm at now. And I just kind of put my head down and I started working. I mean, it was, for all of you who lived through that time, it was really, really tough. We were about 6 months behind on our house payments, and there was just no option. There was no option. Bankruptcy was an option for us. It just wasn't something we chose to not go that route. And so I was going to work my way out of it. Right. So I did, the short story is I did. Going into 2011, I just worked like head down. It was like this thing in me turned on. And remember, here's the thing, guys, I was 41. So this is VIja coming alive a little bit. This is like, okay, I had 3 kids in my 30s. I sold real estate. Mama's going to go like explode right now. I mean, that's really what I think this was, right? So I took a bunch of classes, just started failing forward, made every mistake you could make. I think I went through 5 assistants that year. I went through 3 or 4 agents that were so bad. My own hairdresser to this day, who I've gone to for like 15 years, she won't use me because I gave her one of these horrible agents who, anyway, it was I just failed forward. And what I know is at the end of that year, I did 25.5 million.
Yeah. Wow.
I went from 9.6 million to 25 million. Just want you to think about that in a year where I traveled 10 times, where I made all those mistakes. And I tell you what, at the end of that year, I wasn't discouraged. I was encouraged. I thought, okay, if I can screw up this much, and literally almost 3 times what I did, there's something here. Yeah. There is something here. So Ben Kinney bought my office, and he offered to coach me. So I reluctantly said yes. And that is true. Very true. I very reluctantly said yes. I wasn't sure about this whole thing. I'd never met him, never heard of him. So our first coaching session was December of 2012. And the next year, he guided me, he coached me, he mentored me. We did 37 million. So now I hired my who would be my future long-term assistant. So we had her, my first agent who stayed with me almost the whole time in the VIA group, and a second agent. So we ended 2013 at 37 million with one assistant, two agents. Entered 2014, we did 48 million that year. And by then I added a transaction coordinator. So we had two admin on staff. I can't, maybe 3-4 agents by then.
Okay.
And then it kind of grew, and we peaked at 70 million, and two staff, the two admin, probably 10 to 12 agents at a given time. There was like 3 or 4 new ones that were just kind of, cycling in and learning. And then we periodically had stints of having ISAs. And I say we peaked out because what ultimately happened is that at the end of 2017, 2016, almost all of them left. They almost all left me. Mm-hmm. I came back from a trip in August of 2016, and my listing specialist tendered her resignation and slapped down listing cancellations of virtually all of our listing inventory, about 10 million in inventory.
Because she was going to take that with her.
She was going to take them with her. Almost all the sellers had signed it. And I won't go into details legally on all of that stuff. All I will say
it wasn't a fun day.
It wasn't a fun day. It wasn't a fun, over the course of 3 to 4 months, we lost about 85% of the team, culminating in my lieutenant at arms, my assistant that came through it the whole way. She left at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So walking into 2017, we did really well. I rebuilt the team, stabilized it. We did about the same, which is shocking that we did the year before. And then the next year, I made a huge career decision and then came to work at Kinney companies, where I am now, and sort of let the team go a little bit dormant. And now we're building it again. I think we're going to do 20 or 25 million this year, and hopefully we'll get upwards of 30, 40 million next year, and just kind of continue to grow it. So it's quite a story.
Well, and I think the thing about it is sometimes people will watch an interview and it will be someone who's not extremely transparent about their journey, and it was all perfect, overnight success or sensation. And yet I think what is encouraging when people can say, well, yeah, you can make mistakes and you can learn from those mistakes, which then clearly opened all sorts of opportunities for you with Ben. Right. And it's not, and the team became, for the moment, less important. Now I can take it all these other career mm-hmm. paths, and then circling back to, now I'm so good at this, let's fire it back up. So mm-hmm. big mistakes. So let's talk about that, because they're probably wondering, she seems so nice and dynamic and smart. Why did they all leave her? What happened there? So what was the lesson learned? Because many who are watching, they've either had that happen to them, or they worry that it's going to happen if they build a team, or it's just about to happen in the team they have, right? Because this is one of the issues with having a team.
Yeah, I always say there's 3 types of teams, Debbie. Teams that have team rainmakers, team leaders, mm-hmm. Team leaders who have gone through this already, who are going through it now, or who will go through it. It's part of business growth. You will go through some iteration of it, and it may not be as dramatic as mine. You will go through some iteration of a pivotal person or pivotal people leaving you. It's just part of what you have to go through, and I get that now. I'll answer the mistake question kind of 2 ways. There's a tactical mistake that I can share with all of you guys who are thinking about building teams or building teams now, that I think is huge lesson that I'm sure Ben told me and coached me to it, but I really wish I would have heard it. Right. Mm-hmm. And then the second one is more of a personal leadership lesson. So the tactical one is, I will never, ever hire agents unless I have enough leads to feed them. anymore. I won't do it. I'm involved in that now. To me, if I can really comfortably give them 10 to 20 good leads a month, maybe 30, depending on how, maybe they're a little bit weaker internet leads, but anywhere from 10 to 30, depending on your lead sources, listings from leads, internet. I'm very comfortable that we're bringing in enough listings for open house leads, even if it's virtual. Enough leads per agent was a huge mistake that I made. Okay. I think it's really important as a team rainmaker that you're making people dependent on you in a sense for those leads, at least for at least 50% of their business.
Okay.
And that's just a VIA thing. I personally won't grow a team again unless I feel very comfortable that without me, they would not get these leads. Mm-hmm. Not everyone will agree with that, and that's okay. For me, I won't build a team again unless I'm building a very dependent model where I'm controlling the leads and I'm giving them really good ones, and a lot of them. The other lesson that I learned from a leadership perspective that's impacted me the most is that I really care for people, and I really care about my people. I'm fiercely loyal, and I'm fiercely protective of my inner circle. It's just the way I'm wired. I didn't show it. They didn't feel like I cared for them. They thought I was steamrolling them. I think I was. I think they're absolutely right. I did not show that I cared for them. I did look like I was steamrolling. I was definitely steamrolling my goals. Like, I was so blinded by my goals that I didn't care how many dead bodies I was running over. And so a big lesson I have is take the time to care for your people and show them that you care. Mm-hmm. It's so important, and I can't stress it enough. I have interviewed now hundreds of people, maybe 1,000 people. It's what I do now. I'm the director of growth. I'm constantly talent recruiting. And one of the questions I ask everybody when I get that far in the process is, tell me about a favorite coach or mentor you've had in your life. Mm-hmm. And then I drill down and I ask them why. Every single answer has to do with, they just cared about me. They just show me they cared. It wasn't about skill. It wasn't about tactics. It wasn't about what they did. Every single answer, and I've asked hundreds of people that question, has to do with that. They answer it in a way that's like, Debbie, they really cared about me. And I felt it. So those are my two big lessons.
Thank you so much for being so willing just to share the real deal, the story. And if they would like to reach out to you, potentially with a referral for your team or a question, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so my name is spelled really weird. It's pronounced VIA, but it's spelled V as in Victor, IJA. So VIja Williams, you can just, you can get online and pretty easy to search, but viacentral.com is our website. via@benkinney.com is my email. And I'm pretty easy to find. There's not a lot of Vias.
And we'll help you get connected if you need some help. So thanks again, VIja. Have a great day, guys. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.